sedikit menantang. Sekitar 20-25 menit. Silakan.
Terima kasih Pak Saka. Izin saya beri. Kita tunggu sambil menunggu presentasi. Apa kabar semuanya Bapak Ibu? Luar biasa, dia bilang semangat ya. Perkenalkan saya Dara, saya adalah CEO founder dari Pinhome, sebuah marketplace properti KPR dan jasa. Barangkali di sini sudah ada yang pernah pakai atau pernah dengar Pinhome sebelumnya. Amazing, 2 juta jiwa ya. Separuh dari download kita ada di ruangan ini. Senang sekali bisa ada di sini di ruangan ini pada pagi hari ini. Probably this is the highest number of HR expert professionals and leaders I've been surrounded with the past, or maybe my entire career gitu ya. Round of applause yang sudah menyediakan waktu dengan semangat pagi di hari ini untuk sama-sama mungkin belajar dan saling berbagi. Saya terlihat muda kayak baru lulus kemarin sore, tapi sebenarnya sudah cukup tua. Ada yang bisa tebak saya lulus pendidikan tinggi kapan? Nanti kalau bisa tebak saya kasih mungkin GoPay ya di akhir acara. Saya lulus dari Teknik Industri ITB di tahun ya, and then kemudian melanjutkan karir saya di Axiata, kemudian di McKinsey, Gojek dan Pinhome. 10 tahun terakhir saya berada di industri yang sangat menantang, industri teknologi, startup. Resilience is a concept that's very close to my heart, very close to our organizations, and in the next hopefully 20-25 minutes, I hope to be able to share that. I started my journey in technology startup, this very challenging industry. Mungkin kalau yang selama ini mengikuti teknologi industry, just because mungkin invest di saham, mungkin saham GoTo gitu ya, saham Bukalapak gitu ya, sudah tahu bahwa industri ini sangat menantang. It's highly disruptive, but also and there's high gain, right? If you build valuable company in the industry, there's a major benefits, baik itu untuk shareholder, employees, or other stakeholders. But the challenge is when you are inside is also it's not the kind that we would see in corporate. Hari pertama saya kerja di Gojek, jadi sebelum di Gojek saya di McKinsey sebelumnya kurang hampir 4 tahun. Dan bergabung di Gojek, hari pertama saya harus duduk di lantai di samping kucing, because we didn't have a chair for me. Saya adalah tim manajemen ke-15 yang bergabung pada saat itu di tahun 2015. Kantor Gojek adalah rumah tua ukuran 150 meter persegi di Jakarta Selatan, di daerah Senopati. Sangat kontras dengan 2-3 hari sebelumnya saya bergabung di hari Senin. Hari Jumatnya saya masih berada di Singapura, serving one of the largest banking clients in skyscraper building gitu ya. So this is the kind of situations that we have to deal with. Kantor Gojek 2 lantai, lantai 2-nya adalah stations ya untuk para call center agents. Gojek was initially a call center for ojek service. Selama kurang waktu 5 tahun, dari 2010 sampai 2014, sebelum mendapatkan pendanaan yang mumpuni dari modal Ventura, Gojek dijalankan sebagai sebuah UKM call center untuk pelayanan jasa antar jemput barang dan orang. Nah, dia mendapatkan penolakan lebih dari 1 musim gitu ya, dari berbagai venture capitals dan institusi pendanaan sebelum ada mendapatkan pendanaan pertama. Hari pertama saya di Pinhome juga tidak jauh berbeda. Pinhome mulai dari garasi rumah saya sendiri. 2019 dengan 5 orang, salah satunya adalah suami saya sebagai early employee yang hanya dibayar dengan cinta, gitu ya. This was our first day, and it wasn't just too long ago. 2019 bulan Desember. 1 bulan kemudian, anybody know what happened then di seluruh dunia? That was the start of. Ada yang lupa, jangan-jangan udah amnesia mencoba ini coping mekanismenya mencoba COVID. Yes, a month after we launched, we had COVID for 3 years. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Ada yang ingat itu varian-varian COVID? Saya masih ingat seperti ini baru kemarin. And then it wasn't enough COVID beres, tech winter. Nanti saya cerita sedikit tech winter itu apa. But through those challenges, we built Pinhome to be world's first end-to-end transactions platform. Di mana di dalam situ pengguna kami bisa mencari properti, bertransaksi properti, mencari KPR, stakeholder properti seperti pengembang properti, agen properti, agensi properti bisa mendapatkan pembiayaan, dan kami juga melayani jasa rumah tangga juga bagi pemilik properti, penyewa properti, atau calon pembeli properti. This is what we managed to build even through COVID and through winter and hopefully many more years to come. Semua dalam satu platform. Sedikit highlight tentang Pinhome adalah kami marketplace property dengan pertumbuhan tercepat, jumlah pengguna aktif terbesar, web and app, jumlah app download tertinggi selama dalam kurun waktu 4 tahun terakhir sejak kami berdiri dengan lebih dari 1,5 juta listing property di Sabang sampai Merauke. Now, I wanted to talk about resilience. I said that resilience adalah suatu konsep yang sangat dekat bagi kami. Saya yakin semua orang di ruangan ini juga pernah berpikir tentang resilience, tentang kegigihan. Siapa di ruangan ini yang selama hidupnya tidak pernah mengalami masalah? Boleh angkat tangannya? Barangkali bisa ke panggung menceritakan bagaimana hidupnya mulus gitu ya. Karena kita pasti semua di sini jealous gitu. Siapa di sini yang pernah mengalami masalah? I would see like 100% each and every one of us would raise hand. And so, because we have faced problems before, pasti kita pernah merasa jatuh atau terpuruk. Dan mengapa kita ada di sini di hari ini dan bisa senyum, bisa belajar, bisa networking? Karena kita selalu berhasil bangkit setiap kali masalah kita hadapi. And so I wanna ask everybody in the room, kira-kira ketika mendengar kata resilient atau kegigihan gitu ya, gambar apa yang muncul di benak kita? Mungkin boleh sambil reflect dan berpikir ya 1-2 detik. Mungkin ada yang bilang saya ingat orang tua saya, mungkin saya ingat sahabat saya ingat diri saya sendiri, saya ingat anak saya mungkin betapa dia gigih. I think that's very true. Each and every one of us mungkin pernah mengalami momen di mana kita melihat seseorang gagal lalu bangkit atau kita sendiri gagal lalu bangkit. Dan itu menjadi suatu image kegigihan. Tapi selain itu, when we ask around what cross your mind when you hear the word resilient, some of these images come to life. An athlete, full high performance athlete, but also this one, less fortunate, disabled athlete, but they're as resilient and maybe even more resilient than other high performance athletes. Heroes, national heroes gitu ya. We think of them as very resilient. They went through difficult challenges, pra kemerdekaan untuk memperjuangkan hak-hak yang sebenarnya mendasar. Or this one, children, we don't think of them as strong physically, tapi they can be mentally very resilient. Berada di negara yang mungkin tidak seberuntung Indonesia, gitu ya. Tidak mendapatkan basic human rights seperti pendidikan, kehidupan yang layak. But we could see them as being resilient because despite all that, they managed to stay power through. They can still have a positive mindset. They can still be adaptable dengan situasi yang sulit. We think of maybe war veterans atau tentara gitu ya. Karena pastinya mereka juga menghadapi tantangan di medan perang. But we also think of them, the victim of the war. So resilience is such a versatile concept, and it has nothing to do with physical strength. Even outside this concept di kita sebagai manusia gitu ya, we can see that this also applies to other organisms. Anyone knows what creature this is yang ada di layar saat ini? Udah tahu ya? I would say 99% people that I show this image has no idea what this is. But turns out to be the most resilient creature that's ever existed berdasarkan riset. This creature bisa bertahan melalui extreme hot and cold, high pressure, vacuum, can survive without water, can go into dormant state if the conditions are unfavorable. And it's almost immortal. Dan makhluk ini bisa ditemukan di hampir semua permukaan karena mereka sangat resilient. Bisa ditemukan hampir di setiap tipe permukaan, baik itu maybe in water, but especially di tanah gitu ya, di hutan, dimanapun. Karena kemampuan bertahan hidupnya yang sangat tinggi. And this creature is called tardigrades, and this is the ultimate survivors of animal kingdom. So this is to show us, because the size of tardigrade is only 1 millimeter. Jadi bahkan tidak sampai 0,5 cm. It's literally 0.01 centimeter. And so, sorry, 0.1 centimeter. So resilience isn't about size, isn't about resources, isn't about physical capability. It's about mindsets and skill sets. And if we do have the right mindset and skill set, dan didukung dengan persiapan, perencanaan, then we can survive any type of challenges, difficulties, adversities. And that's the concept that we wanted to talk about today, is about building resilient culture. The past 10 years, I've been in an organization that has to survive. And it has to survive because it doesn't generate profit as a business yet. Or in the case of GoTo now, hopefully very close. and let alone cash flow positive. Tidak, jadi cash flow negatif dan tidak profitable. So it relies on external resources such as capital. And that capital is limited. And the way that we have to survive is, it's a race to get to profitability while making sure that our burn is manageable. And so we're racing with time every day. I will talk about building resilient culture in this type of organization. Saya rasa organisasi kami ekstrim, startup lumayan ekstrim gitu ya. Tapi banyak hal yang mungkin bisa menjadi paralel bagi organisasi-organisasi lain yang lebih established. First, we'll talk about what is organizational resilience. And then there are 4 words that's important in organizational resilience. Kata kuncinya sebenarnya ada 4. Anticipate, prepare, and respond, and adapt to incremental or disruptive change. Organisasi yang resilient itu adalah organisasi yang bisa melakukan keempat hal ini. Bisa mengantisipasi, artinya kita siap akan ada perubahan. Tidak menghindari, tidak mencoba menutup mata atas perubahan, tapi embracing change. And then knowing that there will be change, preparing. So this is another keyword yang kalau seandainya kita punya mindset, kita punya skill set, but we don't do anything today, nothing until the change happens, we might be too late. Dan akhirnya ketika perubahannya datang, we need to respond. And then responding is not something that one time and then gitu. Responding is something that's continuous, sehingga kita harus beradaptasi. So essentially organisasi yang resilient melakukan keempat hal ini. Building resilient culture, there are 2 potential or possible ways or approach. First is defensive. Defensive artinya trying to stop negative events, trying to, let's say kalau ada mitigasi risiko, kalau ada risiko, ketika lihat ada risiko 1, 2, 3, okay, let's not do it. We don't even want to deal with risk. That's defensive. Trying to really stop anything from happening, don't do anything if it's risky. Or progressive, meaning that, hey, let's see which risks are acceptable, mana yang masih bisa kita terima. So, what the researchers have found out adalah culture yang resilient atau organisasi dengan resilient culture itu bukan organisasi yang menghindari risiko atau mencoba berhenti dan tidak melakukan apapun, tidak melakukan perubahan. Because when we do that, we won't be resilient. We won't know what it takes to deal with problems or deal with change. Instead, organization needs to be progressive and constantly changing, constantly adapting to the environment. And so progressive approach where organizations actually try to make positive events, and in this case, change atau perubahan atau inovasi gitu ya, adalah organisasi yang akan menjadi semakin resilient versus yang tidak mau berubah, hanya menghindari risiko and then fully risk-averse. And why is that? And why do we think that organisasi itu harus progresif? Karena dunia ini berubah dengan sangat cepat. Konsumen ekspektasinya semakin tinggi. Mereka pengen semuanya instan, murah, cepat, available. And if they're not getting it, they're not happy about it, they'll be very vocal. Kita semua tahu ya, yang namanya viral di social media, that's a thing. It is a threat. The customer does that all the time. I will make it viral. I'm not happy with your service. Competitors are also getting smarter and smarter. Innovations and technologies are also getting more advanced. Dulu kita berpikir, can we remember the day without, let's say Google? Can we remember the day without Android, App Store? It's hard to remember those days. Tapi sebenarnya belum lama loh. Android sendiri aja mungkin setelah tahun 2012 baru ada adoptionnya baru tinggi gitu ya. But so yesterday's innovations is today's expectations, and it's always going to be that way, and it's only going to be faster. So it is important that for organizations kita harus embracing the unknown, and it is actually part of the way for us to build resilience. Organisasi yang resilient adalah organisasi yang proactively scan through the environment, mengerti pergerakan mikroekonomi, and be ahead of the game, ahead of the cycle, and try to think about how can we adapt and how can we be at the forefront of innovations before everybody else. And what it means for us is sometimes our organizations are in a very difficult position. We have very minimal resources, and we have to be comfortable with that. And we need to still try to do more and get more with minimal resources that we have. Bukan berarti kita kerja rodi setiap hari gitu ya. I think we can work smarter. We can work smarter, and it doesn't mean that we work harder. It's just smarter. For example, sebelum kita menggunakan tools AI, it just takes 5 times more resources to do anything, market research lah. Whether we want to do coding, if we want to do testing, app testing gitu ya. If we want to create like campaigns, whether that's video campaign or static image campaign. But with AI, human is only required for 20% of the work, just the calibrations, perfecting the initial output. Tapi initial outputnya, which is 80% of the time, if we want to do research, the most time-consuming task is really to gather the numbers, to get the exact data or information that we need. Kalau di legal researchnya itu 80% is about looking through like the government regulations. Itu bisa makan waktu berjam-jam, mungkin 10 jam dari risetnya. Tapi the actual, let's say, risk mitigations and action planningnya cuma 1 jam atau 2 jam. So we want to cut that, and now we are able to do that. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we started Pinhome, it wasn't even available. So we know, and all the businesses that are today able to use this AI task, we're at advantage. So resilient culture for us specifically is 4 or 5 years ago we had nothing, and we needed to be comfortable with minimal resources that we have. We work out of our home garage. Okay, and then it's also about being ready to step up when bigger opportunity arrives, yet also staying alert. Even with big capital, it doesn't mean that we're safe. It doesn't mean that, hey, you know what, we can be comfortable, don't have to be too resilient, we can spend whatever resources we have, because resources can be depleted very quickly. 3 tahun setelah kami memulai, kami mendapatkan pendanaan yang cukup besar, dan total pendanaan sampai hari ini sudah mencapai 1,5 triliun. But we spend money like that's the last penny that we have every day. So why does it matter? And I'm gonna close this in the next 2-3 minutes, dan mudah-mudahan nanti detail implementasi. If there's any questions about specific things that we did in different contexts, hopefully we can save that for Q&A. Because it is the best predictor of success. The most successful organizations that we see today is not the organizations that have the most amount of money or the highest number of headcounts. It is the ones that are adaptable to change and they are very resilient. And then it also instills sense of purpose. Resilience is about getting people to understand shared vision, communicate context. Hey, this is what's happening globally. This is what's happening locally. This is what's happening regionally. And this is why we have to be so and so, right? It always starts with having a shared vision and understanding context, challenging context around our business. And then it also means continuous improvement, because resilience means that it's never enough. We have to do better, we have to be smarter, more efficient. And then we need to do it with less. So it forces us to continuously improve. Enthusiasm is common. All entrepreneurs are enthusiastic. Leaders are usually very enthusiastic. Yes, let's do this, let's do this. But endurance is rare, it's scarce. And so we need to find out dari human capital yang kita miliki di organisasi, siapa yang bisa jadi resilience agents. Because many of our talents are very excited, especially when they are young, they want to learn, ya. Tapi resilience itu yang sulit, dan itu harus terus diajarkan dan di nurture. And that OG call center transformation GoTo, we know that story, but it would not be possible without resilience. I wanted to close this with the next two slides, the story of Pinhome, how we built Pinhome because we failed in our previous venture inside Gojek. I don't know if anybody here knows GoLive. It was literally second largest globally lifestyle service platform di luar China. But because of COVID, it was completely shut down. But the organization didn't give up. We had some team members that were previously in GoLive saying, hey, can we rebuild? And what happened was 2021 di shutdown, 2022 kita bangun di dalam Pinhome. Kegagalan untuk meneruskan GoLive akhirnya membuat kami membangun Pinhome yang saat ini menjadi rumah baru bagi layanan jasa rumah tangga dan menghidupi lebih dari 15.000 para penyedia jasa di Indonesia. I want to close my presentation with this, and I hope that this instills and inspires a story, inspires everyone in this room, that the story of resilience and the success and achievements that we could get from being resilient is real. Semoga kita semua tetap bisa menjadi profesional yang gigih dan organisasi kita juga bisa maju terus dengan kegiatan kita. Terima kasih.